Hello guys and welcome to the Lotus. This base features a tight compound and funnel wall, a compact and simple starter unit, a semi-open core with tons of loot space, and finally an insanely unique roof with amazing peaks. If you guys are new around here, leaving a like and subscribing would greatly help everything that I'm doing. But without further ado, let's look at the cost and the upkeep of the base. As you might see, the upkeep is pretty darn cheap. I don't even consider it anything at this point. And if you guys have any other questions, comments, or anything like that, links are always in the description to everything you might need. Alright guys, let's get into a tour. Alrighty guys, starting at one of our two externals, we can hop down here and look at the upkeep. 1k of each is pretty good. Obviously basic disconnectable like this. Disconnect it and then reconnect it. If your main TC is broken, by disconnecting you can replace your main TC. Alrighty, jumping over to one of our two gatehouses. They are just going to be some basic gatehouses with some patriarchal peaks into our compound. As you're going to notice pretty quickly here, there are two full sections to our compound. It is fully segmented, meaning each section is entirely separate from the other. So this is the entire section as we're kind of running through looking at here. Furnace funnel on either side, auto turrets above on every side, and all this fun stuff. And it's just obviously a mirror from one side to the other. Then coming over to this module, we have more shotgun traps and stuff like this. This is a retake bed module and also acts as a rotation into base. A large battery is also kept behind this garage door. Jumping further into the base, this also acts as peaks into our compound. Very nice for a defense on either side obviously, and a little bit of a retake into base when needed. Jumping up to the next level, up is to our little semi-open core, down to the left is to our starter unit. This is meant to be obviously just a very basic starter unit. You're not really meant to live in here for too long. You're meant to go up to your open core, or semi-open core rather, and split loot between everywhere. Coming to our TC here, very cheap upkeep, 9k stone, 5k metal, and 75 high qual. Enough furnaces for everything, all your needs, large boxes, all the basics. Obviously, you don't need to spend too much time down there as you're going to be living up here anyways, where all your box space really is. 6 box loot rooms in each, followed by a tier 3 vending machines that you can access through this window. You have a little bit of a core peak here, and obviously that's pretty hidden off. So jumping back to our rotation, we can go up here. This is more of a roof peak, but also does act as a core peak. It's very good. If you have a heavy pot helmet in this situation, it is disgustingly hard to shoot you. Jump up to the roof. I like this furnace jump up. It is a little weird, I do know, but I like a double door here, so it's not just a garage door to roof. And then jumping to the next level, we have auto turrets on both these platforms and the platforms on the left that have our little bedroom modules on here, which are very unique. This square is going into a section, if you can see here. Very unique, very cool. Offers some nice peaks down and around. These peaks are also beautiful from every side of the compound. They're like little wide arm peaks is how I like to describe them. They also have all these turrets, just have beautiful angles back and around. Mountain roof type peaks for peeking far and even decently close, which I do really like. They can all be useful in any situation. The base is very tall to defend against a taller fob to give you space to play from, which I really do like. Alright, without further ado guys, if you have any other questions, comments, or concerns, jump in the comment section down below or join the Discord. The link is always in the description, along with timestamps and all that other fun stuff. Alright guys, let's get into a build. Alrighty guys, let's look at the footprint here before we go any further. This is obviously the entirety of our main base. Our entire starter unit looks like this, where my crosshair is. These are our external gatehouses. Bedroom modules, retake modules, where our compound kind of would be, if you can kind of follow my crosshair there, and obviously then our externals. This base is very tight and compact, which makes it very effective, cheap, and all that fun stuff. So our basic starter is going to be a square and a triangle, walled in. And now personal preference, whether you want a window or you want a double door. I do suggest actually using a double door or a single door here, but if you want, you can use a window for a little more protection. But for now, we will be doing this very basic. And that all only really needs to be a garage door. Now we'll come into here, place your starter items in this room, but obviously we need to expand very quickly as it's a 2x1 and very cheap. One more square out, To the right of the square, we're gonna place another triangle and wall it in. That'll be furnaces, and then another triangle over here, and this will be double door entrance. You can obviously change this to single doors. However, for the efficiency of the space, prefer double doors, as we're gonna want to garage door these later. But for now, moving this double door out, adding 2 double doors here for an airlock, furnaces in this spot. I like our workbench to go down here. I usually leave my tier 2 down here, the entire wipe, and then I now will place my bags. You get 3 bags in here very, very easily. And now I'm going to come to the outside of the space and add a shelf in here. Shelf. We'll even leave this foundation as it doesn't really matter. And now you can either ramp it, or you don't even have to ramp it. It's all personal preference, and add your boxes. I'm not going to bore you guys with how to place these boxes. Everyone's done them, and especially in a square and 2x1 before. So do this however you'd like. This will be my method today, as it is going to get me 6 boxes. And I can obviously still reach the TC. And we're good. Okay, going on and expanding the base now. Add 1 more triangle here, a wall, and now is where I add my 2 single doors, the way I like to do it. 2 single doors. At this point, I will remove these double doors for the sake of not being congested, along with adding garage doors through every slot that's possible, and sheet metaling the roof on every slot. I also like to remove this box temporarily, if possible, just so I can come in here and get this foundation, tie armored or sheet metal, whatever works. And then I'm also going to sheet metal this entire TC compartment, and all this is obviously possible from the outside, along with sheet metaling this wall, this wall. That gives us a nice 8 rocket, and that is what I like early game. Coming over to this corner, I'm going to honeycomb this in, to honeycomb our TC a little bit. Coming over to each side of the square, I'm also going to honeycomb in the triangle. Like so. And also sheet metaling all of the roof tiles above what actually matters, just like that. Now for a little sake of symmetry, I'm going to be placing squares off of these 2 sides on both sides of base, just so we can kind of get the whole footprint down. But the real thing that's going to matter for now is simply adding a double door frame here, 2 walls to expand that airlock, just a little more. And if you swing it inwards, it creates a double door airlock like this, just to be more of a nuisance to raiders. And for the sake of symmetry now, so I can turn on symmetry, I'm going to wall this section in, as is technically the opposite side that is symmetrical. Now turning on symmetry, I will be able to do both these sides at once. So just like this, as you can see that side works, and perfect. Alrighty, now at this point I like to add my externals to the base, as it's just kind of a good idea. So coming over to this side right here, we're going to be doing some basic externals. So it doesn't really matter what side you go on. This is the double door to give you some more reference. At a twig, all we're going to do is build 3 triangles and then 3 squares. Breaking our build out and coming back with triangles. Nice and easy. That is it, just like that. Now I'll place this triangle raised and place 1 more triangle here. This one can be sheet metaled in, or whatever grade you have at the time of building. This is going to be that battery module. Obviously you may not put your battery here right away, as you may not have it, but this is awesome to do early game. Coming back to twig, I'm now going to add the actual external part, which is building 1 triangle off of here, 3 squares, 3 triangles, and making our basic disconnectable. And now I will be doing it in my method. I know there are bunkered versions. I actually do suggest using a bunkered version of an external if you know how to do it. It actually just adds a ton of free raid cost, especially nowadays. So I do suggest doing it. There's no downside really nowadays, so yeah, do it. The only downside might be it's a little more difficult on console. That's the only thing I can really think of. Basic external here, obviously glass window on that guy, but for now we're just gonna leave it open, as we're going to need to upkeep that TC and a real wipe sooner than later. Here's our reconnect. By doing this, we now have pretty darn good anti-grief protection. I mean, we're 8 rockets, or it's technically 16 rockets to grief now, which just is a nuisance. All right, coming to this module, we're going to continue and build it. I like to sheet metal this triangle and these 2 triangles, and then stoning these 3. And now I'm bricking it, but it's the same thing. Stone, double door frames here, jumping up here. We're gonna add 2 half walls facing towards the base, 2 floor triangles. I actually like to sheet metal these if possible because they're technically soft side, but they're not gonna matter. Windows, double door frame coming up here. We're gonna make these turret pods. Oop. And that is what that looks like from an outside view. This now is much better anti-grief protection. On this side, let's add a simple double door and a window. We can now seal this section off. This is actually an amazing point for an early game defense point. Also, 2 triangles like this, trust me later. This becomes a perfect spot for early game defense. I know you can't jump through this, but you garage door this or just leave this out temporarily. And what this is gonna do is down here, when you put your beds and your lockers, this is just a nice, simple, early game kind of module that you can kind of throw up pretty early in the wipe and have some beds and respawns that are kind of partitioned from everything, which is very nice. So coming out to this next section, I'm going to come over to this side and show you what the starter unit drop down looks like. This, obviously, pretty weird. So the solution to kind of get this better is we're going to want to add a shelf right here. Obviously, I can't do it right now, so the solution here is to quickly come in here and add a shelf through the outside. Remove this double door, and then leave it like that, break that foundation. This is what this should look like, just like this. And on this side, you're gonna want to add a triangle here because this won't matter, but for now, this is perfect. So what we're gonna do is build our core. We're gonna build these walls 2 high on all 4 sides, along with sealing them in like this. So 3 half walls here, ramps, double doors, 1 more, windows like this, half walls, floors, wall frames, and then sealing this in. You can use the space below here if you want, but personally I like to use it as kind of how I'm doing it now, as it makes it more partitioned and harder to hit in pummel type raids. Now you can put a wall up and followed, by a half wall, sealing this guy off completely. Window, you can add these triangles here and then frames throughout. You can kind of see how this is taking shape. So shelves in these guys, this is where our lockers go. I like to sheet metal all these roof tiles whenever you can, just to add a little more protection along with the stuff above this. Coming over to this section now, we add a jump up here, and we add battlement walls like this. Next level, same kind of deal, except this time I don't like to use a garage door here. I like to prefer a furnace jump up. So doing it just like this, and then 2 half walls. I try not to use half walls a lot, but in this case, it's a really good purpose, right like this. So now on these guys, windows, roof tiles. I prefer using a brick skin or any of the paid for skins, I guess we can call them, as they do give a little bit of a better peak and mobility around them on these sides. And if you don't have the skin, what I might suggest doing, excuse the lag there, this placement right here becomes annoying. Just be aware this placement might get a little bit annoying on a real server. As with Adobe, you can kind of just like place it, and sometimes this will bug out. Just be aware that you just have to go below it, but that's a little bit later in just a minute. So nothing to worry about really. And my designated embrasures, doors, you can kind of see how this all kind of starts segmenting itself off. This can be a double door still, which is great. I'll garage door this section to kind of give us more raid cost and more of a door path. And yes, this entire module is being used as a door path to increase our raid cost, which actually is really beautiful. All right, continuing through, we are good. I'll quickly go ahead and place our open core boxes and garage doors, as this open core really doesn't need much to be in its full state. Technically speaking, to have a high raid cost, we don't even really need to do much weird stuff. It's just garage doors and good. All right, placing these last few boxes. The base is pretty far coming along, which is awesome. There's a few more things to do before we are done though, and a lot of deployable placement. So this open core is looking pretty good. Oop. sheet metal this wall and this half wall and this wall whenever early convenience. It'll be better, trust me. Okay, coming back to the top, we kind of see that we're in a pretty darn good spot. I like to floor these guys off as well. And then we will build this peak module now. Simply out of, I will do this out of sheet metal, 2 high. And I'll use the brick skin. And then a sheet metal on this one. Trust me on this one, you'll understand. The reason we're using sheet metal is as if this was stone. This triangle will not place. A sheet metal one will place perfectly fine. As you see, it's blue. So I'm placing my windows here, this triangle through here for our turret, and then 2 tiles. Looks good. We can add our roofing tiles. Window. Very nice looking at this point. Now as for the compound and for this last module here, that really beefs up the base. So, upgrading this spot as well under the sheet metal. This is what it should look like from either side. All right, add twig off of the sheet metal spot. We're going to build 6 squares out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Break our build out. Once we've gone 6 squares out and left the last one, we come back with triangles. In this area. This is what it should look like. Here's a nice overhead view. We can also add a square, triangle, triangle like this. Now, since this is not connected to main base yet, and we don't have an external off of this, as we'll be reconnecting to main, we're going to be upgrading this to stone and sheet metal in the middle, and we're going to be making our reconnect. Be aware this will decay unless you make this reconnect proper. So 2 high sheet metal I'm going to be using, 2 high stone I'm going to be using right here, followed by half walls in windows. Going to add my proper embrasures just for the sake of convenience. I'm going to add a temporary floor frame here, a twig, a double door. Seal that off. Now breaking this twig as it's not needed. I will add a roofing tile like this, and I will brick this skin along now with 2 floor frames. Be aware, like I said before, this placement will be a little wonky. I like to place a temporary triangle like this to place them a little easily, or more easily. Now break this triangle and add a square in the middle. As you're going to see, it's literally going to place over this gap. It looks super weird. It doesn't even stick through. It's a weird gap, and I kind of love it. I don't know, it's cool. As you can see here, I'm in between the tile, and that's what it looks like. And now, it's not reconnected just yet, but coming down and outside. Let's say I make a little build up here to get myself to this spot. Oop, that fell off. To place this triangle like this. Now it is reconnected. Obviously, do this on both sides. Oop, I'm lagging a little bit there. Apologies. Triangle, triangle. And that is good. I personally like using brick skins in here, as I think it looks better. And apologies for this one being removed for some reason. I don't know what happened. Above this now, we can add our auto turret pod. Oop, no stability for that triangle. I'll jump up in here, make it easy. Like that. You can also add a triangle above if you want to cover it a little better. And this is where I usually like to place my windmill. And of course it loves to mess with me and not place initially. Okay. 2 more turrets here, 1 on each side. Perfect. Coming down here now. This is now a reconnected module, so this is all good. We can now add the extension of the gatehouse. So we can kind of stone this all up. I'm going to sheet metal these 3. And now I'm going to add a stone, build our basic gatehouse module. Use any variant that you'd like, but this is what I like to do. With the Patricos. And then our half walls above. Just like this. Boxes go up here. Chain link fences. Start adding my embrasures. I do them rotated like this as I think it gives a little better peek. But that's personal preference nowadays. And then boxes. Small boxes or large boxes, whatever you like more. Just like this. And now for the compound wall placement. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's going to be 2 walls, 1 fid like this and 1 fid like this. So it kind of just goes straight off of this point like this, straight down. This is the best way I can kind of explain it. Something else that will help you is alt looking to your right side and figuring out that gap. You kind of just learn over time. Obviously this isn't perfect, but practice this on a build server beforehand or something, and you can get the gap almost perfect every time. Now these are the 4 main auto turret spots where I'm placing them now. Boom, boom, boom. Excuse my lag, guys. It is not pretty. And then give myself another attempt here. And of course I mess it up worse. Perfect. Now these 4 up in these, 2 on each side obviously of the base, are the main auto turret spots. But when you have extra, doubling up here is never a bad idea, as a lot of wipes I find myself having extra turret comps with a base this small. Large furnaces are placed like this, stand where I am right here, and then just simply place it as high as possible, and your funnel is practically perfect every time. This is really just meant to annoy raiders on a base this small. Any amount of shotgun traps and tight corners just annoy them, so it's beautiful. Something to note is, if this module is decaying for some reason, even though you've done this reconnect, it might be bugging out due to a server reset or something happens, you can always add an external off of this point. So you could always add the exact same external that I have over there to here if something breaks, and it will instantly practically fix the issue, and the upkeep on this thing would be like dirt cheap, like 600 stone, 600 metal a day. If it happens, it happens. It's no big deal. It's very cheap and very easy to replace, as this module is pretty darn cheap, as you guys can probably tell. All right, next thing to go through, we have all of the basic stuff done, so it's now time for the main upgrades and all of this fun stuff. So I'm going to jump all the way down to our core. Obviously, our core is still pretty stone. So everything that needs to be sheet metal / high qual, I'm going to be doing. High qualling all the roof tiles, basics, removing this box so you can get to these back walls. Sheet metal, high qual, sheet metal, high qual, sheet metal. Ooh. Upgrading that door. Now coming in here, and we will be windowing this off. In some cases, I will actually vending machine this, just for a little bit of flex vending machine space. Down to here, I will sheet metal this entire little section. If you are worried about this technically being a one wall situation right here, first off, don't be, it's the exact same raid cost if you have all these garage doors down as if this was, you know, HoneyComb or anything. It's the exact same raid cost as going through this wall and this wall, technically speaking. But if you are worried, sheet metal this wall or high qual this wall and just, you'll be good. It's not going to affect your upkeep. It's 70 HQM a day. It's very cheap. It's kind of surprising. I'm very, very interested on how cheap this space is. I may have forgot symmetry was on. It's okay. Okay. Jumping up to open core. Let me go ahead and quickly place our tier 3 and our vending machines to show you guys how to do that. Vending machines are placed like this. At tier 3, I like to upgrade this. Like that. Now I can window this off and obviously, good. And obviously these aren't reachable unless you have TC and can open that window. Next thing I like to upgrade is this double door, or not this double door, this window frame. After this, I like to sheet metal all of this fun stuff. Obviously this is all done from the outside. Basically making these square mods entirely, that doesn't mean to be, entirely sheet metal. Everything you can basically see always just kind of gets sheet metal in the first 2 layers, and this really doesn't affect the cost all that much. Also, obviously, coming down to these guys, sheet metal, sheet metal, sheet metal, just everything kind of the first 2 levels gets that treatment. Next thing to upgrade are going to be these battlement walls to sheet metal, and these ramps to sheet metal as well. And then at that point, as you can see, this doesn't really lead. Oh, wait. That is what it leads to. So it's up on this level. Apologies for that. Something you may have noticed is that we are utilizing what would be the open core technical box space as the half walls for these peaks on top, which save a lot of cost. It's something I haven't seen anyone really do in the past. So I kind of just like figured it out and just started using it in this base. And it looks really cool, and I'm really excited for it. But at the end of the day, this is what your base would look like in a more upgraded form. Obviously, I'm not using any funny building skins or anything like that in this stage, so it looks pretty darn good. And now, because I obviously forgot, I'm always silly and I do this, I forgot to put my barricades on, so I do apologize. Something to note might be, I don't like people sitting, this is the one weird technical blind spot of the entire base. Adding one barricade like this will entirely fix that problem. Alright. I didn't have symmetry on. Alright. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you guys may have. And yeah, join the Discord if you have any questions as well. Link is always in the description. And I will see you guys there. Alright guys, without further ado, I will see you in the next video. Have a good one guys. Love you all.